From two dairy painters to multiple seven-figure business owners, I'm Redion.
And I'm Karmelo.
And we'll be giving you guys the insider secrets to take your trade business to the next level.
From crazy stories to proven strategies, get ready to supercharge your business with us.
Welcome to the Dairy Painters Podcast.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the kind of mindset you need to skyrocket your sales. We will be diving into the Olympian Equation, our routines that set us up for success, and some helpful principles that we apply on a daily basis. Let's get right into it.
Let's do it. All right, guys. So,
what's the Olympian Equation?
So the Olympian equation is something that I came up with. I didn't create the principles. The principles I found from other books, sales courses, other people training people in sales. And then I kind of molded them in to fit what we do. So again, disclaimer, I'm not a genius. I didn't create this. I just did research for years and years, tried things, failed in things, and then came up with like, hey, this actually works for a painting company or for a service-based company. Because there is a huge trend out there, which I see a lot, even with us in the beginning. Painting business owners and construction, renovations, whatever it might be, they don't have a sales process. I would say about 90% of contractors that go into a house, they just wing it. And then we were notorious of doing that in the beginning as well.
Yeah, I will attest to it. Originally when we first started, and sometimes you couldn't hit any appointments, and you would tell me, hey, Karmelo, can you hit this? Because I'm on the other side of the town. I was kind of winging it myself. I didn't have a sales process to guide me and show me that, hey, this is what you need to do throughout the whole sales presentation. I was just off the top of my head.
Give us like a little rundown, like a quick rundown, like how you used to do the first appointments.
Oh, first appointments. Oh, this is giving me PTSD. It was a little bit of a disaster. So I would just go into the appointment, say it's an interior painting appointment. Okay, which areas do you want painted? Those areas. Okay, what kind of colors are you thinking of doing? Okay. We are showing products, so you're good with us. All right, I'll send you an email by the end of the day.
Yep, sounds pretty standard. That's how most people do it. Mine was, so I had a notepad, and then it's hard for me to focus on things, so I would just ask those questions like Karmelo did, and I would pretend I was writing notes on the notepad, all I was doing is like scribbling like little houses or like random shapes, just to like it seemed like I'm doing something, because I had no sales process. And then that's why I was like, okay, if we want to be better salespeople, first I have to learn how to sell. And that's when I start reading a lot, taking sales courses, and then create a sales system where I can follow for myself, my brother can follow. And once we got to the level of having sales people and then a sales team, then they can follow as well. That's how I came up with the Olympian Equation, which is pretty simple. It's branding plus value plus quality plus trust equals a lot of money.
Oh, wow. I love the end result.
So I'm all four, you need them. To get to be a successful business in painting or a home service, you have to have all four. And then one of the things that we did right, we didn't do many things right when we first started. We'll be honest about that. But one thing that we actually did right was focus a lot of our branding. Everything. The colors, the logos, the vehicles that we had, the branding on the vehicles, our signs, everything we really focused on just being consistent, the same, and then translated to social media. So social media, our webpage, our website, our landing page, our Google page, everything, once you land on them, you can tell, like, hey, this is Olympian. This is the colors, and then the way we're posting. Also, the way that we are advertising was very on brand. That's something that helped us grow very rapidly and get to the level that we are. For example, I tell a lot of people, like, we have a lot of pull power because when people land on our Instagram page, even when we didn't have hundreds of thousands of followers, even when I had like 5,000 followers, the quality of my content and the way I was giving value made people trust us, because that's one of the most important parts of the equation.
How you explain it to me is branding is the beginning of your sales process, which is a very good thing that I always keep in mind.
And I explain it to like other consulting clients, our sales team. I'm like, hey guys, it's easy to sell for Olympian because we've done the base work. We've done the branding. We've set that groundwork. So when you're going into an estimate, you're going in with an edge just because of our branding. That's why it's easy to sell for us, because we've done all the groundwork. You just need to deliver and follow the system. Because when somebody, I call, like, let's say for, like, a lot of you know our business runs 90% from Instagram. So when people land on our page, in my mind, I'm like, okay, when they go on my page, it's like my storefront. They look around. They're constantly being sold from the bubbles, like the highlights. That you have your befores and afters there, your reviews, and then they start scrolling and consuming your content to see what you're up to. Every single post has a purpose. They see, so they're constantly being sold. Even if they don't reach out to you, once they're on your front page, they're constantly being sold. That's why I always like, hey, your branding is what starts the sales process. They start the sales process, then they get convinced, they build trust, like, hey, these guys know what they're doing, they seem legit, and then they decide to reach out. Starting out, you have to focus on branding. You have to focus on branding to get the customers trust you. And then moving on to the next one, value, you have to understand what the customer is looking for. That's why the branding, value comes right after. And then you're like, okay, my customers, most of my target customers are homeowners between the age of 27 to 46. And they're looking either to renovate their house, they're buying their first house, or they're upgrading to the second biggest house. What kind of value can I provide to those people? And also, how can you satisfy their wants and needs? You have to get into the customer's mind and understand what their wants and needs are.
On top of that, identifying the wants and needs is, again, it's what you taught me. It's ask a lot of questions, so that way you can narrow everything down and you can have a better understanding and get into their shoes.
It's going to make you a better salesperson when you're not going in there and just going for the sale, but you're going in there as an understanding person, trying to understand the customer's needs and wants. And then one tip I'm going to give is you have to focus on being an educator. You cannot focus on just going there for the sale and only worrying about making the money, getting the commission. You have to put yourself in a mindset like, hey, I'm here to help this person solve a problem or satisfy a need. Though that's how you need to be going into a sales appointment. You cannot be going there and be like, oh my God, this is a $40,000 job. I'm going to make $20K on it. I'm going to go buy a new car. I'm going to go buy. No, the people will subconsciously pick up on your energy and be like, okay, this motherfucker is just trying to sell me here.
He just wants my money.
He doesn't care. Money. He doesn't care. And that's like you said earlier, like when we didn't have a sales process and we were going there just winging it. I'm sure a lot of people subconsciously like, okay, these guys don't care. They just came here, spent 10 minutes with me. They didn't ask me any questions. They took a look and they presented me a price. A lot of them probably thought we didn't care for the project or for them. That's why subconsciously people will pick up on those things, even if they don't realize it.
Yeah, and when you're being an educator, because initially you told me that, Karmelo, you need to educate people. It's not like with the information you're going to tell them, they're going to go start their own painting business. They're not going to be your competition.
100%.
So in my sales process, I believe I'm a great educator and making the client understand what to expect and what the process will be and everything. That's why they feel a little bit more confident, and the fact that they see a person that actually cares about their project.
So what Karmelo does, and I've gone to a few estimates in the beginning to make sure he's following the process. He gets very technical about a lot of things. And I used to tell him, hey, the customer is not going to paint cabinets themselves. So he gets extremely technical about a lot of things, like the breaking points of primers, how far the caulk will stretch, or like things that no other painter will think about explaining to them. And what that does is it positions Karmelo or whoever is doing that technical analysis of a process, the product, as an expert. People want to buy from experts. That's how they build trust. And then you're really good at building that trust. That's like, hey, I know what I'm doing. And especially in the beginning, because Karmelo is only 23, and when he started doing estimates, he was like 20, and he looks like a little kid. So
no beard yet, nothing, no
so
facial
people
hair.
were like, what the fuck is this kid doing in my house? And then he would open his mouth and be like, holy shit, he actually knows what he's doing. And then almost Carmelo was the first salesperson other than me. And then I would post more videos of him spraying. I would post more videos of him talking. And then they would see that. So let's say they didn't trust you when you walked in there because you look very young.
I don't know how I put it, but they basically gained the confidence. Like, okay, this guy also does what he is talking about.
Yep. So
he's not all talk.
So, and then also you can solve that problem by showcasing yourself, showcasing your guys. And then when you open your mouth, you just like leave the customer mind blown. And I remember one time I went with Anthony, Sounds of Monaco Painting. Shout out Anthony. And he's like, dude, you don't shut up. I'm like, yeah, because I have to give out all the information. He's like, that lady didn't have a chance to say a word. I'm like, yeah, I have to. After I ask my questions, I asked him about the worries, the wants and needs. Then I explained how I'm going to fix those needs, what I'm going to use, how those products work. And then those people, and then I sold that lady on the spot. She was like, wow, dude, you really know what you're doing. So those are the things that they're going to help build trust.
I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but the most satisfying thing is when the client at the end, once you finish all your educating and telling them about the process, is when they say, oh, you had every question I had, you already answered it, so I feel confident with you guys.
Exactly, yeah. We get that
It's the best feeling ever.
Yep, because you build your confidence on yourself too. You're like, holy shit, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not a bullshitter. Sales is confidence. I'm not going to lie. And then after those two, then the quality is obviously you have to deliver a good product because value and quality, I can give them all the value. I can give them all the educational materials, everything, all the products I can educate them on. But if the end result is shit, then the equation just broke. You just threw the equation into the garbage. So
yeah, just throw a negative on the dollar signs at that point.
You just put the negative on it and then you're going bankrupt. But yeah, quality is very important. You have to give customers a good quality product in a timely manner, a good price. You have to give them options. And then you have to make them a top priority on satisfying their needs and solving their problems. And then lastly, trust. I think that's the most important part. That's what starts the whole chain reaction to the equation. And if you take that out, the other three, they're just not important. So how you build trust? Like we said, first with the brand, second with being an educator, and then knowing your stuff, positioning yourself as the expert, and then being sincere and honest. I think that's a lot of people overlook it or they don't even think about it, but just being sincere and honest with your customer, you'll gain so much value to yourself and to your organization. For example, we do a lot of exterior estimates, and most of the time they call us, it's a need, right? Their house is fading, their house is bleached up, the stucco is falling apart, whatever. Most of the time, those are the houses. But a lot of times, we'll get houses that are in good shape. The paint job is holding well. There's no structural damage, no stucco falling apart. They don't need to get the top of the line, 3 coats, whatever. So as soon as we walk into the estimate, we're like, hey, your house is in good shape. Why am I here? And they're like, oh, I just don't like the colors. You're like, okay, I'll be honest with you, man. You don't need my best package. You don't need to do a full coat of primer. You don't need to do 2 coats of the best paint. I can help you, be more budget friendly, more economical by doing this. Just by being honest, even if they can afford it. A lot of times when we go to like really rich houses, people, they maintain their house regularly. Their moods change and they want different colors. When you're being sincere to them, you're not trying to skim them of more money, then they appreciate it more. And then your closing ratio goes high because you're like, hey, this guy, he comes into a nice house. He sees, I have nice cars. It's an expensive house. And then he starts the conversation like, hey, why am I here? It doesn't look like you need painting. And then he explains to me that I don't need to spend more than I need. How would you feel if you're a customer and I came to you and I was like that?
I would feel very confident.
You're like, okay, this guy's not trying to
I would trust you immediately.
Yeah. Right away, you trust somebody. So being sincere and honest, or it can go the other way. But hey, I'm sorry, man, but your house looks fucking beat down. you're gonna need immediate solutions. You're gonna need to do the whole 9 yards. When you explain it to them like that, and then you understand, you help them understand what they need to do and why, you come out as a very sincere and honest person. And then also differentiate you from the competition, because a lot of times, and I've seen it, guys will go into expensive houses and they get all excited and like, oh my God, it's gonna be a big house, it's gonna be a project, I can charge triple what I would normally charge, and then they never get that job. And how do I know that? Because I used to do that. When I first started, I would go to an expensive house, I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to retire after this job. And then the people will pick up on that energy, and then and I never got those jobs. And then once I switched my approach, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be fair, even if it means I make less money. Even if they wanna give me their money, I'm gonna be fair. But hey, you don't have to give me your money. I can still do a good job for X amount because you don't need to spend more. Keep that in mind, guys. Very important. Being sincere and honest. That's how you're gonna start building trust with your customer. Moving on, differentiate yourself. Like we said in the beginning, 90% of contractors don't even have a sales process or all the pieces of the equation above in place. Like Karmelo said, everybody just goes and wings it. No structure, because structure is very important. No script to follow, because having scripts helps you stay on course. You're not like drifting away from where you're trying to go. Having a script and a structure helps you stay on course and get to the end result, which is getting the job and helping your customer solve a problem.
And then having a script, I would say, is don't follow it to a T. You don't want to sound like a robot, but make sure you get the important parts of the script out there.
Correct. Yeah, don't be like a robot. Like I said, we've had guys that, like, okay, here's the script, and then they just memorize it, and then they just go by the script. I'm like, no, you can't do that. And not like we said, not every customer is the same. They have different wants and needs, different personalities. You have to adjust. You have to be able to maneuver your script and your structure based on who you're dealing with. Don't be just like a robot, like just go through the paragraphs and just expect the customer to be like, oh, that was so great. Here's a check.
Yeah, adapt and improve.
Yeah, follow the script, and then that will separate from your competitors. And then I use this little thing. I'm like, hey, if you don't believe what we just said, next time you're in the paint store, go up to like 5 or whatever, how many painters you want to go up to. Be like, hey, do you have a sales process? And I'm like, what? What the fuck is a sales process? I'm a painter. And those guys are business owners. They've been in years in business. And then even like some of my old bosses before we started our business, none of them had a sales process, or none of them had any sales education, or none of them cared about wants and needs of the customer. All they cared about is getting the job and converting it and making the money and all going on to the next one. And I'm sure they were not closing that great, because our numbers compared to theirs, it's like day and night difference. And then another step or like another bullet point of how you can separate yourself. It's like I said, something that Karmelo does really well. Know your field. You cannot sell paint jobs without knowing what it takes to get a paint job done, what it needs to get a paint job done, and all the products, the processes, things that can go wrong. Because one of our favorite questions, like asking the customer, is, what's your biggest worry about getting this project done? And then they're gonna stress out their worries, their fears. You have to be able to answer those questions. Like, for example, if a lady is like, hey, Karmelo, my biggest fear is the cabinets chipping, the paint peeling off. How do you come back to that as an expert?
So using the high-grade quality materials that we use as a cabinet wood coating, we use a 2K polyurethane system that implements the use of a catalyst, which adds that extra layer of protection, and then also is backed up by our own 10-year warranty against peeling, blistering, fading, or chalking.
Boom. He just gave the lady a good 1-2 combo right there, and he's like, hey, my process and the products I use, you don't have to worry about that. But if those products, they don't perform, I give you my personal guarantee and warranty as an Olympian brand, as a Karmelo, that if it goes wrong, I'm going to stand behind my work and come fix it. So immediately, he just dissolved the words that she had. And then, because we've tried in the past just bringing random people when we're like trying to grow a sales team without not having experience on the field. And it was very, very hard to train them to get to the point where they can sell like me, Karmelo, or some of our guys, which they got promoted from painters to managers and then to salespeople. It was very hard to train them because I can put it in PDFs and presentations and videos and whatever, but if you don't have real life experience, it's hard to sell it. Like if you didn't fuck up a paint job, if you didn't mess up cabinets, if you didn't deal with issues, it's hard to convince somebody that you know how to deal with them. And like the most notorious thing is like when I was training a sales rep to be sell paint jobs for us. Like every second, a customer would ask a question and he would be like texting me, "Hey Redion, what do we do if it's oil trim? Hey Redion, what do we do if I don't know, if the frigging walls are falling apart?" I'm like, bro, you seem so unprofessional when you're pulling up your phone and then you're texting somebody else. It seems like you don't know what you're doing. Just come up with some bullshit. I don't know. It's better to come up with some bullshit and just come up with a story or like whatever than just pulling up your phone like, oh, let me ask or let me Google it. Because right there, you lost the customer. Like if you come to my house and do that, I'm like, okay, you don't know how to do this.
You don't know your product.
Yeah. Or like when I pick a mechanic to do work for our cars, I'm like, Karmelo, let's go because like I need a specialist. I need an expert. So we go to the mechanic or the speed shop. Like, hey, how would you do this? Why would you do this? And based on how they answer my questions, I'm like, okay, we can trust this guy with our cars. Or this motherfucker doesn't know what he's talking about. He's gonna tear our car apart.
Check engine lights everywhere.
Yeah, and that's real life experience.
Yeah, first-hand experience.
So it's the same with us. Like painters. If I'm pulling up my phone, I'm like, oh, what primer can I use on this? Or what paint do I need to use on this? And I text my boss or I text my rep or something. You just lost it right there, man. You lost all the trust. Like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. You can paint their house for free, and then they won't let you paint their house for free because you don't know what you're doing.
A preventative measure you can take for that is because everybody has a Sherwin-Williams salesperson, so you can ask them about the products and everything. And this is a hot tip, but when I'm selling exteriors, and because we sell interior packages, the super paint and the duration, something one of our old salespersons told me is that duration applies 2 times thicker than super paint.
Yeah.
So when clients hear that, they're like, oh, for a few $100 or, $1,000 extra, I could just go to the duration and get more longevity out of my project.
Yep.
And they just get mind blown. Like, oh, I didn't know that's how you rate exterior paints, by how thick it applies.
Yep. So
that's a hot tip that you can use on your next exterior appointment.
Yeah, just do your homework. We didn't come up with those ideas out of the blue. Just do your homework.
It's not bullshit.
Yeah, just ask your rep. Sherwin-Williams is a multi-billion-dollar company. Ask them questions. Be like, hey, how the fuck this paint works? And let them explain to you. Let them give you what do you call those sheets?
The TDS, the spec sheets.
Yeah, the spec sheets. Bring those, educate yourself, and then pass it on to your customer. The customers want to know things.
Yeah, you have all the tools you need. You just need to use them.
You have to be proactive. You have every tool that you need out there, but you're just lacking the willingness to go out there and learn about it. That's what I'm saying. Just be proactive, do your homework prior, and then boom, it's easy. That's about differentiation.
Habits. You want to move on to habits?
Yeah, let's move on to habits. Everything has to tie in when you sell. You can't just know your materials really well and be a good salesperson. You have to do a lot of groundwork. The energy that you carry yourself, the way that you present yourself, the way that you make that first touch, that first conversation on the phone, the first questions that you ask, everything I think ties in together to make you a successful salesperson. You can be a phenomenal salesperson, you can be really good at what you do, you can be a good educator, you know your stuff, you know your field. But if you're a jackass, if you go in there and you're just like a salesy, really aggressive person, I feel like you won't be as successful as somebody that carries themselves with a different kind of energy. It's nice to people, it's kind, treats them with respect. I think the difference between those two is huge. How you look on the outside matters is the next bullet point. How you dressed. If you go there looking like a bum. Or like, I mean, I wear paint shirt. A lot of people are like, hey, why do you wear your paint shirt still? I'm like, guys, I'm not gonna go decked out there looking spiffy like I'm going to the club, like nice shoes and like. I'm a painter at the end of the day. I'm trying to sell a paint job. I'm not gonna go there like a button-up shirt and a tie and pretend like I'm some special sales guy. No, I still wear my paint shirts even now that I'm not on the field anymore. I still wear my old paint shirts with like paint on them. I'm not gonna go with ripped pants, smelling like cigs and drinking a Mountain Dew while walking there. It's just the presentation. You have to have a certain presentation to position yourself as an expert and to not look way too exaggerated. Because I see some people on Instagram that like give sales tips and then they're like decked out. They're wearing like a button up and they have like nice pants and like super nice shoes.
Louis Vuitton belt.
Yeah. I'm like, how you gonna go sell a paint job and wear a Louis Vuitton belt? Like, come on, man. Or the other thing that I see, all these guys, there's a lot of guys out there now giving sales tips, and then like they'll do an estimate, and they'll walk into a customer's house, they'll be recording and mic'd up, and then asking the customer questions, and their frigging shoes are on. I'm like, bro, how you can walk into somebody's house, and then some of these houses have like nice carpet, nice floors, and you don't take your fucking shoes off? Like, that's so disrespectful to me.
And you see the client with their shoes off. And
yeah. I'm like, you're walking around with a Slurpee. Around the house. Like,
dirty shoes on the carpet. Oh,
I'm like, guys, just first, like, one of our rules, and my mom makes fun of it. She, like, hey, when you're a salesperson, you're doing an Olympian appointment, first thing, take your friggin' shoes off. Like, when you walk into a customer's house, it, like we said earlier, it sets the tone of like, hey, I'm going to respect your house. And how many times we're like, oh, you don't have to. And then you still take them off. And like, oh, I appreciate that. Right off the bat, they appreciate how you treat their home. And then it sets the tone of how you're going to treat their home for the rest of the project or the rest of the duration that they're going to be dealing with you. Very important. Take your shoes off. Next, punctuality. Just, I had to call an HVAC guy the other day for our AC was having trouble. And the guy just showed up 2 hours late. I'm like, bro. Like, you don't respect my time. Even if you did it for free, I don't want you to do it anymore. Because I've been waiting for you for 2 hours to come fix my AC when you said you're going to be here at 9. It's freaking 11, and you just show up with no courtesy, no like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm running late. Punctuality will set you apart. That's why, what's our quote?
If you're on time, you're late. You have to be there 15 or 10 minutes earlier than the appointment.
If you're on time, you're late. It's huge. Punctuality will set you apart because contractors, they're very unorganized. They're always running behind. But being punctual, we get compliments all the time. Like, oh, I can't believe you're on time. I'm like, why? Like, we've had to deal with X amount of other people, and one doesn't show up at all. One shows up 30 minutes late. And just myself the other day, I was so pissed. Like, the guy showed up 2 hours late. I'm like, this guy, man. I'm like, I don't even want you to do it. I'm going to find somebody else. So be punctual. Set the tone right from the beginning.
And the most common thing I hear about when we're always there early is, oh, perfect, I could get my day ahead because you showed up early, we can knock this out faster, and I can move on to the next thing.
Yeah. And also, a good tip, and we're going to get into that earlier, like, hey, when you're heading to an appointment, text the customer. Be like, hey, Joe, I'm on my way. I'm going to be there in 45 minutes. And then they'll appreciate it because they'll be prepared. I don't know, maybe they're naked, they want to get dressed. Just give people heads up because they'll forget. Even if they set up the appointment, give them reminders like, hey, I'm on my way. Hey, if you're running late, things happen, traffic, whatever. Hey, I'm running 15 minutes late. Is that still good? And then people will appreciate it rather than just showing up late with no explanation like, yeah, I'm here. I don't give a fuck if I'm 30 minutes late. I don't care about your time. That's how people perceive it subconsciously. They might be nice people, and then they might not care, but like you have to think that they will care. You have to think that they'll take that the wrong way. That's why punctuality, one of the most important things, to setting the tone right for a sales appointment and for starting a project.
I want to paraphrase a little bit since we're on the topic of habits before we move on, but something else that you told me to do when I'm on the way to an appointment is don't put any music on. Put something of value while you're heading there so you can have your mindset straight.
Yes.
That's the main thing. So what are a few things you can have playing while you're on your way to an appointment there? Something you'd recommend?
So I'm a big fan, at least during business hours. I'm not saying don't listen to music while you drive, But when you're working and selling, and what that consists of when we're out there doing appointments, it's a lot of drive time. So I'm like, hey, fuel your brain with some good, valuable information. It doesn't have to be like super technical, or even like you can listen to like motivational speeches. You can listen to like Jim Rohn or somebody that's gonna fuel your brain. It's gonna increase your levels of positivity. It's gonna help you learn something. One thing that I like doing while I'm driving to sales appointments is listening to sales books. Sales books, and then this process that we're gonna go through, it's me reading hundreds of sales books and trying things and learning how to implement them in the business. That's why I say, hey, if you're in sales during business hours, when you're doing appointments, listen to like a sales book, listen to like a sales podcast, listen to us, because you might pick something like a little gold nugget that's gonna flip your whole mindset, and you're like, holy shit, let me try this on this appointment, or let me try saying this way versus that the other way. That's why because your brain is thinking, how can I be better while you're going to an appointment? That's why those external factors of like listening to those books or podcasts or motivational videos, whatever you want to listen to, your brain is going to be more receptive on picking up what you need to be doing, or even trying things, or even thinking of how you can be better, or how you can make your sales process better. And after the appointment, listening to something productive like that, be like, oh shit, if I would have said that, or if I tried that, that would have not happened. Always fuel your brain with good stuff during business hours while you're selling, so that way your brain is always revving up at high speeds. Very important.
Yeah, and a good audiobook I like to listen to is pretty much anything by Brian Tracy, but The Psychology of Selling, I think, is the main thing that flipped a lot of switches for me.
Yeah, those are great books, but even like podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts like in sales, and it doesn't have to be specific on paint. Like I said, these books that I read, none of them were painters. I just took the principles of that they were teaching, and I was like, hey, this is how you do things. Let me try it out on a paint job. And then it worked, it didn't work, and then I just moved on.
Goal setting.
Setting.
How important is goal setting?
Goal setting plays a huge role in your psychology. Mm-hmm. So as a salesperson, you have to keep tabs and score for yourself. You have to be like, okay, I did 10 appointments. I closed 2. Something is wrong. I'm not selling enough. And then you go in your I like keeping a notepad. And I'm like, okay, this month I'm going to set a goal of selling $100K worth of work. And then by setting those goals, you give yourself a destination. And then you're more likely to achieve those goals when you have them written down and you know where you're heading. That's why it's very important to set goals as a salesperson, even as a person in life. But as a salesperson, I think it's mandatory to be setting sales goals for yourself, setting sales goals for your sales teams, and then holding yourself accountable and holding your sales teams accountable as well. Like, hey guys, we said we're gonna do 100K. What happened? Why didn't you do it? And then you all go back in the drawing board and see what went wrong. Maybe you didn't get enough leads. Maybe the quality of the leads was garbage. Or maybe one day you're not feeling like it. You didn't follow the script. It's a good way to audit yourself and then keep track of things and then fine-tune and improve things.
Yeah, I like setting goals personally because it also helps you compete with your own self.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And holding yourself accountable. I think that's the most important. Holding yourself accountable. And I have a nice little quote here. When you know where you're heading, you are going to get there. But you have to have a clear destination. Mm-hmm. Requirements for success. In sales, if you want to be successful, you must know where you're heading. If you're serious about starting in sales and being a successful salesperson and successful business owner, you have to be able to be like, hey, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. This is the amount of money I want to make. This is the lifestyle I want to live. And then once you do that, then you go back on your drawing board or your little notepad, and then you go, I'm like, this is what I have to do. In order to achieve this, I have to do this. In order to be a better salesperson, I have to read 50 sales books. In order to be a better business owner, I have to create these teams. In order to be a better painter and then do a higher quality job, I have to create these systems. So you come up with what you want and where you want to be, and then you right underneath, you write down what are the dues that you have to pay every day to achieve those goals. Very important. That's why I like one. It's called the Law of 100. It's by Brian Tracy. It's a phenomenal law. You write down 100 things that you want. You write down, hey, I want to buy a Ferrari. I want to live in the water. I want my family's bills to be taken care of. I want to have 10 trucks on the road for my painting business. I want to have these tools. You write down the smallest little thing that you want to achieve and that you can gain by being a more successful business owner and salesperson. And then you put that list on your vision board. I'm also very big on having vision boards. Huge. And then you've seen it. Everything I put on a vision board,
we've already achieved.
It happens. I was like, it's crazy. Like I print, like let's say when we're younger and like we wanted to get the nice cars. I'm like, okay, we're broke now, but one day I know I'm going to be able to afford that car. And we'll just print out a little picture and then we'll just put it on the vision board. And then next thing you know, once you visualize it, you materialize it. That's why I'm big on vision boards. But the law of 100, when you write down all your goals, like it has to be 100. The smallest thing, like, oh, I want to be able to afford courtside tickets for a Miami Heat game. The dumbest thing, I don't know, whatever you want to achieve with the money that you're going to get and the success you're going to get from your business. And then you read it every day. It's going to wire your brain differently. You're like, okay, I have these 100 goals that I need to achieve by being a better salesperson, a better business owner. How do I get there? So your brain will work differently when you have those external factors motivating you and then giving you guidance. You'll start looking for opportunities everywhere. You start looking for ways to improve yourself. You start looking for ways to make yourself better. That's why I'm very, like, it's important to me, even now at this point where we're not where we want to be, obviously, but we've achieved a good level of success with our painting business. I still do those things because I'm like, okay, what's next? What's the next level? My brain stays open. How can I take advantage of those opportunities? Or how can I learn something new from somebody else that's smarter than me, that does things a better way? Very important. Write down your goals. The law of 100. If it's one thing that you can take from this episode, guys, the law of 100. Write down your goals. Write down everything that you want to achieve by being a better salesperson, a better business owner, and then let it be your roadmap. And then read it every day. If you don't have a vision board, create a vision board and put it there. And I would like, if you guys want to share a few of those with us, I would like to see what the audience wants to achieve by being better business owners.
Yeah, and I think having a vision board, it just wires your brain, like you said, in a different way. So subconsciously, you're trying to rapidly move towards that goal. What do I need to do? This needs to get done. I can't be slacking because how am I going to achieve all this?
Exactly.
Subconsciously, it helps a lot.
And another law that I picked up from one of the books I read, the guy was talking about the law of accumulation. And he says, every great financial achievement is an accumulation of hundreds of small efforts and sacrifices that no one ever sees or appreciates. Everything counts. Nothing is neutral. That one day that you slept in, that one book you didn't read, that one question you didn't ask, the follow-up you forgot to do, the prospect you didn't reach out to, the hours you burned without doing anything productive, everything has an effect. And then when I read that, I was like, this guy's right. Especially with the follow-ups, especially with improving every day, letting time go to waste, not doing, for example, like tracking data. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, those little small things that I thought didn't matter, they actually matter in the long run because everything accumulates. All those small efforts that you think they don't matter in that period, if you keep accumulating them, they're going to lead to bigger things.
And one thing I like is the part that says that one question you didn't ask, because I'm a big fan of after each sales appointment, I go over the whole sales appointment and see what I could have done better. And, oh, shit, I should have asked this. I should have learned about this. I didn't really ask them. And now it looks bad if I just text them like, hey, when are you looking to get this done, actually?
100%. Or like when you meet somebody, like, for example, you meet somebody that's more successful like you, and you want to ask them a question that can transform everything that you do. Mm-hmm. Ask questions. Do the little things. You might think it doesn't matter now, but those little
efforts,
they'll build up. They'll get you where you want to go.
And that's very true.
Or like sleeping in, like, or like taking a weekend off. Guys, there's 104 days, weekends in a year. So 104 days, if you're taking them off, the competition is going to outwork you. 104 days is a lot of time. Mm-hmm. I'm like...
It's almost a third of a year.
So I'm like, when you skip those 104 days, those small efforts, they might seem like, oh, I'll take a weekend off. But in the long run, they're going to affect you big time. Imagine if you put 104 days extra on what you're trying to achieve. Where would you be? Think on that.
Yeah, and the reason for our rapid growth, I think, is because the first few years, we were really working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And that really put us ahead of everybody else, of all of our competition. And something that comes to mind is because you like to post the car sometimes on your personal Instagram, and then somebody commented, "Daddy's money."
Oh, yeah.
Daddy's money. And you responded, "Mommy's money." That's something hilarious that I really like to see. They don't see those sacrifices that 7 days a week, late nights at the shop, spraying cabinets, whatever. All those little sacrifices. Daddy's money.
If that guy is listening, we retired our parents 3 years ago. So yeah, it's definitely not mommy's money. I get it. It's normal, but that's the work, all the work that we put in, and we still do. I mean, Saturday, the day that we're recording this, and we're here recording when we could be just chilling. I don't know. We're trying to give value to people. Then we're going to work. It's just it's a mindset, I think. That's what it takes to get to
the next level.
Yeah. And if you want accelerated growth, those 104 days, they make a difference. Do you want your weekends off? Do you want balance? Or do you want to achieve something great? You can't have both. You cannot have balance and try and achieve something great. It's impossible. If there was a way, trust me, we would have found it.
I want you to touch up on a little bit because I love this, the law of sowing and reaping.
I use that with my marketing too. The law of sowing and reaping. It's from the Bible. And then the paragraph says, for whatever one sows, that will he also reap. You must sow first, and then you will reap exactly what you sow. The actions you take today will bring in the harvest that you'll reap 3-4 months out. And then I use that for my marketing. Because our marketing, like the awareness ads that we run and then the direct response ads, we'll spend the money now, but we might not get the results now. But what's going to happen is we're going to pick up followers. We're going to raise awareness to our local market. So those people that are not ready to buy now, they're going to buy 3 months down the road, 4 months down the road. That's why I'm like, hey, don't expect immediate results. Don't go for the instant gratification. So spread your seeds, and then it takes time to eat the fruit. Mm-hmm. So it's the same with sales. Like, you might listen to this episode now, and you're like, oh, you're going to get all pumped up. You're like, okay, now I have the Olympian system. I'm going to be like these guys. It's going to take time. You're going to have to take all the principles that we're going to give you, and then you're going to have to take them and practice them and try them out and then fail and then go back in the drawing board. So do not expect immediate results. That's why I love that law as well for the marketing and for sales success, business success. You have to be patient. It's a long game.
Yeah. And sometimes when you have ad campaigns, it's hard to determine the value that you got out of that campaign, because from this specific campaign, maybe later down the road, the person that followed you from this will hire you 3 months later.
Yeah.
So you can't keep those analytics.
If you want immediate results, go trade Bitcoin, be a furu, and scam people online, and then run away in Bahamas and go off the grid.
Dogecoin, invest in the Dogecoin.
But
guys.
When you want to build something good, a solid foundation, it takes time. It's a long game. Very important law. I love that one. And then moving on, the winning routine. I really think and that's why we had Mitchell in previous episodes, because having a winning routine starts, I think, with having a good workout foundation, a healthy lifestyle. Because how you start your life, your day-to-day life, it sets the tone for your working day. And then I'm going to put my winning routine out here. And like we said, I'm sure if you guys watched the episode with Mitchell, I'm like, you don't need to train like a bodybuilder. Just be active and eat healthy. Stay active, exercise. Health is wealth. Because if you can have all the money in the world, and if you're not healthy, then what's the point? Very important. Just don't be a bodybuilder. You don't need to be jacked up, and just be healthy. Mm-hmm. That's why I like starting my days with just going to the gym. And now I make it a priority. If I don't go to the gym in the morning and do my stuff, I don't even start work. I'm like, the morning, I have to get this done because it's going to make me better in sales. It's going to make me a better business owner. It's going to make me a better leader for my organization. It's going to make me better for my business partners. Very important. And then I have a little good note here. When you're fit, you maximize your output. You have more energy and you outperform all your competitors. You can be a top 1% by working 8 hours a day and taking weekends off. Back to the weekends.
Back to the weekends. 104 days.
Yeah, because I get guys, when they reach out to me, especially on Instagram or like on the consulting page, like, hey, Redion, I want to work less hours. I want to make more money. I'm like, bro, it's not going to work for you right off the bat. That's why one of my questions is like, are you willing to work 80 hours a week? And if they're like, yes, then I make sure they are. If they say no, then I'm like, these guys are not a good candidate to take my sales training. Moving on the winning routine, on weekdays, both of us wake up early. We try to be at the gym by 5 a.m. at the latest, since that's the only time we can really work out with our phones not blowing up, no distractions. And after I'm done, I go get ready for my day. I check now that we have an assistant, we're like, hey, what's good for today? She sends us everything that we have to do. I look at my 100.
The law of 100.
The law of 100 list every day. And I put, my mom thinks I'm crazy. I put a whiteboard in my bedroom.
And in the office, there's two whiteboards. There's whiteboards everywhere.
There's whiteboards everywhere. And if you guys don't believe me, I'll send you a picture. I'll post a picture on my story. There's whiteboards everywhere, in the house, in the offices. Shit, we need to put a whiteboard at my parents' house too.
Maybe we need a whiteboard here.
So I look at my whiteboards. I'm like, okay, I need to do this. I need to get there. I have to do this. And then I want to achieve this. And I go through that like 10 minutes. It's like a meditation. I'm not a believer in meditation, but I think that's kind of like a form of meditation. I'm not going to close my eyes there and then do all that. But I look at my stuff. Like everything that I wrote down, I look at it. And then I don't eat breakfast. No, I just fast all day. Just coffee and nicotine gum. That's a productivity trick out there. You don't need to eat first thing in the morning.
Yeah, something I want to say with this routine, just getting exercise early in the morning and then the fasting, I feel like it kickstarts my brain. I just have that feeling that I'm wired, but in a good way, where my brain is always going at 100 miles an hour. Just like the Limitless pill from that movie, that the guy takes it and he's ready to go.
Nicotine gum.
That's the Limitless pill.
You don't have to be a smoker, but nicotine is a cognitive enhancer. And then paired up with caffeine, oof, guys.
Yeah. Even MMA athletes take those in there.
Yeah. Even, what's his name? Tucker?
Tucker Carlson.
Oh, yeah. Whatever. That guy, I was watching a video of him, and then he's like, he does the pouches. I'm like, I'm sure there's some science behind it. So I tried it. Fasting, caffeine, and nicotine, killer combo. You go all day long. You don't stop. And your brain is always revving very high. And then also starting your day with exercise. It kickstarts your metabolism, kickstarts your brain functions, it gets things rolling. We just go up of a day. I look at my notepad. I keep a notepad for everything. Even though my assistant keeps a calendar, I keep a notepad for everything. Notes, random things, or something that I read and picked up, I put it on the notepad. And then we go about our work. Whatever the day has. Stopping at a job site, going to a sales appointment, meetings, consulting calls, whatever it takes. And then we have here too, avoiding junk food for lunch. It'll drop your energy levels like crazy. Guys, the food choices that you make throughout the day are huge. If you eat junk food, if you go to McDonald's at 1 o'clock and have 2 Big Macs and 2 large fries, you're going to be so lethargic. You're not going to have energy for the next 6 hours to work. That's why it's just better to fast. Just don't eat. Just drink coffee and nicotine gum.
Yeah, when we first started, we would just have those big lunches and we would go to nap.
Yeah, I'm like, our productivity, and we would see with our guys too. Like they would have lunch around 12 o'clock is when our guys take lunch. And then the guys that ate like shit, they would just, boom. Decline massively. The guys who had like a light lunch, like maybe a protein shake or like something light, they stayed consistent. And then also we tried it on ourselves. Very important.
As a high achiever, your output needs to be at max levels all the way until it's time to go to bed.
Yeah. You always, as a business owner and as a top performer and a high achiever, you don't stop. That's why I said there's no balance. You have to be on the go all the time. 2 o'clock in the morning, like last night I was messaging somebody on Instagram. He was up. Fuck it. I'll work the lead. If you wanted a price at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Pre-screening at 2.
I'll work the lead. I was up. It doesn't matter. You're always working. There's no balance. if you want to achieve great things. If you're unbalanced, then this is not the podcast for you. So these ground foundational things that there was no sales training on this at all. No sales process, but this is very important groundwork to set up yourself and to set up your mentality and your mindset for what's to come on the next episode. Because if you don't do those things, even if you're really good at what we're going to show you guys on the next episode, I don't think you have success. Because if you don't have energy, if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't have the right mentality, if you don't have goals, you can be the best at all the other things that we're going to teach you on the next episode. And I don't think you'll be successful. And how I know that is because I did it myself. I knew all the other things. I was a phenomenal educator. I knew sales. I knew how to sell. But my energy, my mindset was not right. And we went through like a little dark time in our organization where we were not performing. That's why I had to go to the drawing board and look into other things deeper than just sales training that could affect my performance, my output. This episode, it just sets the foundational groundwork to make a better salesperson and a better human being.
This is the homework you have to do before your sales process actually starts.
Yes, do all this homework before you listen to the next episode. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have a week until we release the next episode.
So plenty of time for you to
you better freaking
eat good. Yeah.
You better freaking sit down and write all your goals like we mentioned earlier. And then also I want you to write down all the bad habits that you might have that are keeping you from achieving those goals. For example, like you might be staying out late and then you can't wake up in the morning, or you start your day with eating like a donut and a Mountain Dew, and then all of a sudden you have no energy starting the day, or you don't work out, or whatever bad habit you might have that's keeping you away from achieving your goals. Write it down. And then write down the good habits that you think they're beneficial in your life that can help you achieve your goals faster and can help you get there.
And then I see here some sales principles that you wrote down that everybody needs to repeat to themselves every day.
Oh, yeah. Here, you want to read it?
Of course. So the first one says, failure doesn't exist, but I must practice the art of patience. An olive tree takes years before it can give fruit. It will become the greatest of olive trees. In truth, the greatest of all salesmen. Only principles endure, and these I will set and follow every day. These principles will help me prevent failure rather than reaching success. Success is a state of mind. Everybody has their own way to describe and define success. Yet failure is always described in one way. Failure is the inability to reach your goals, whatever they may be. Good habits are the key to all success. Bad habits are the unlocked door to failure.
So yeah, I got this from the book. It's called The Greatest Salesperson in the World. And when I read that, I was like, damn, this hits a spot. So your bad habits, your good habits, they're really going to set you up for success, or they're going to set you up for failure. That's why I write this principle, and I have it in the beginning page of my notepad. And I like reading it as a reminder, like, hey, if I lack all my good habits today, it's going to set me back. But if I stay on my good habits, it's going to give me that extra boost to get to where I want to go.
And I really like the art of patience that it says here and the correlation it does with the olive tree.
Yep. So read, guys. Again, I'm not a genius. I'm just a dirty painter. I didn't come up with these principles. I just read and implemented them and tried and failed.
And then the next one, I want you to sit down and write all your goals like we mentioned earlier. But I also want you to write down all the bad habits you have and think and affect and keep you from achieving your goals. And lastly, I want you to write all the good habits that you're going to adopt that will help you achieve your goals.
So that's your homework. On this episode, do your homework and then get yourself ready for the next episode that we're going to give you the whole 10-step sales process. It's the system that I created based on a lot of research, based on a lot of failures, trial and error, that helped us sell over $15 million worth of paint jobs the last 5 years. So the system works, and it doesn't only work for Olympian because we train other people in sales as well. It works for them too. So I would give it a try for sure. All right, guys, so this wraps up this episode of the Dirty Painters podcast.
Be sure to follow our business on Instagram at Olympian Painting and also our personal pages, Olympian_Redion, Olympian_Karmelo for more content, and keep up with our episodes on at Dirty Painters Podcast.
If you like this episode, be sure to share it with a fellow painter or tradie. Until next time, this is Redion.
And I'm Karmelo.
Signing off from the Dirty Painters podcast. Thank you, guys.